Hello everyone and welcome to Friday Cooking. Now today we are going to be making some frozen yogurt. That used to be one of my favorite treats when I was a kid. Unfortunately, the weather isn't necessarily the warmest at the moment, but it's still a nice treat to have maybe after lunch or after dinner. It's something really refreshing and cool to eat to help keep you nice and cool. Alright, so some of the ingredients you need are, I was going to do raspberry frozen yogurt. Unfortunately, I couldn't find enough raspberries. So I'm also doing a blueberry. So I purchased my fruit and so it wasn't frozen yet. So I had to put it onto a tray and then spread it out. And then I put it into the freezer for a couple hours. I generally do that overnight so that way it's ready for the next day. So now I've got my frozen fruit. I've also got my Greek yogurt, so 2/3 a cup Greek yogurt. So I think I've got a little bit more than that, but that's okay. I don't have honey, which is okay, because if you do have honey, you use the honey if that's what your recipe calls for. But I've got some maple syrup here. So I'm going to be using maple syrup as my sweetener. Probably won't use too much. It does say 2 tablespoons. But I'll probably only put about 1 because blueberries are quite sweet. All right, so you need something to blend the yogurt, the honey or maple syrup together with your frozen fruit. So I've got a handheld blender. If you've got an actual blender, that's fantastic, or a food processor, use that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my yogurt into my frozen fruit. Now, if you chose to do the peanut butter and chocolate one, you have a couple different steps to what I've got. There we go. I'm just going to move that bowl over here. There, and then I'm going to add a tablespoon of maple syrup. So I'm just going to pour just a little bit. And then I might add a little bit more after if I feel that's what I need. All right, so I'm just gonna mix it up a little bit before adding or using my blender. There we go. So it's gonna be a little noisy, so I'm gonna mute this bit so you don't have to listen to me. There we go. So it's as smooth as it's going to be. So I'm just going to try to get as much of the frozen yogurt off of my blending blade. Make sure you have an adult do this bit for you, just because the blades on the blenders can be a little bit too sharp for us. So try to get as much of it as you can, because you want to have that as your tasty treat. There we go. So that's as much as I'm going to get. I'm just going to give mine a little bit of a mix. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to use my spatula. There we go. Just to wipe up some off my spoon. Now what you're going to need is a container, an airtight container to put your frozen yogurt in. So I've got this one, and I'm just going to now pour my mixture into that. It's good to use a spatula because it's able to wipe the edges and get as much of it as you can. Smells really nice. There we go. So then you can spread it out so it's a bit more even. There we go. Give my spatula a wipe. Perfect. And then what you do, put your lid on. sure it's on nice and tight. Close it, and then you put your container with your frozen yogurt into your freezer. The recipe does say for about an hour, but it really depends on the temperature in your freezer. So I'm going to put mine in for a couple hours and then maybe have some after my lunch. All right, I'll come back and we'll see how my frozen yogurt looks like after. All right, everyone, so I have left my frozen yogurt in my freezer for about 2 to 3 hours and it's now ready. So before I opened it, what I did first was I left it on the counter for a couple minutes, like anywhere between 5 minutes. And that way it was soft enough for me to be able to scoop it. So I'm gonna take my lid off and then use a spoon. It should be soft enough now. And you can just scoop it out. Now, if you've got an ice cream scoop, use that because you'll have some nice looking scoops for your frozen yogurt, whereas I'm just using my spoon to do that. There we go. Perfect. But don't want to have too much. There we go. And then if you've still got some left after you and your family have had some, you can always stick it right back into the freezer. All right, so my berries, my raspberries and blueberries are ready for me to try. Really nice. It's very sweet, and I like how the texture, you can feel the little seeds from the raspberries in that. That was really nice, and it's definitely something I'd like to have to cool me off on a hot day. Thank you so much for joining me today for our Friday cooking. Hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Take care.